Hello, Tom LaVecchia here with the continuation of the New Theory podcast. We hit a milestone of surpassing our 50th podcast in a very short time. We started less than 2 months ago. We have no frequency on our podcast, just more or less cranking them out when we have the right guests, and the right guest is definitely on today. We have Vincenzo Philomena on the line, who is the founder of OnlineTaxman.com. And we had some international guests, and he's no exception. He's calling in from Medellin, Colombia. Vincenzo, how you doing today?
Doing well, but thanks for having me.
Happy to have you. Okay, so I'd like to start off with, where are you from? Give us your formative years and what has made you you.
My formative years. Well, I mean, I'm from New York,
Okay.
born and raised, and lived in Manhattan, really, for the early part of my career, right? And then 7 years ago, I moved abroad. Started his business, Online Taxman. I used to work at, the Big Four, PwC, etc.
Okay.
And I've essentially been living outside the U.S. since. So it's kind of tricky because my formative years, you could say, were in New York, but candidly, like growing as a person, I think the last 7 years being outside the country, having my own business, was maybe the most, the biggest growth years and learning years, not only about business but about myself. So it's kind of a mixed bag on that question.
Okay. So you followed probably the traditional route, got your CPA, worked in one of the Big Four, started as an associate, worked your way up. What level did you reach over at the Big Four?
I was at PwC up until senior associate.
Okay, so you realize that, again, this is consistent. You either kind of grow and become a manager, a partner, etc., or you go out and set up your shingle or do something else. But you did something a little different. What is Online Taxman?
So Online Taxman is a company, and we focus specifically on expat taxes, right? So we focus on Americans living abroad or investing abroad, or the other side of it, right, which is foreigners that are looking to live or invest in the United States. So it's kind of international taxes, for U.S. expats.
Okay, now is it something that if I'm an expat who wants to use your service, is it automated like a TurboTax and I do it myself, or that's just the name and I file everything and you do your taxes for me? Which of it is it?
Yeah, no, we do the taxes for you. I mean, it's basically just because there's a lot of pitfalls and things with expats, if you will, like having to declare foreign bank accounts and foreign assets, and the foreign and income exclusion where you get 100,000 tax free. So there's this sort of very specific and nuanced rules on the international tax side. So there's just not a lot of people out there, right? So there's, obviously people could go to a regular CPA in the States, but they might not know all the rules. So that's why they come to us. We do all the tax returns and give the advice. And then of course, the process is all done online, given the fact that most of our clients are just around the world and don't have access to local help. So we're here to provide that for them online.
Okay, so I'm an expat. I go online, I Google you, I find you, and then I use your service. Where are your tax preparers out of? Do you have a virtual team? Do you have a staff? Where are they located?
It's all virtual. I mean, everyone's an employee, and everyone's a U.S. CPA or EA, but they are around the world, right? So some are in Colombia, Brazil. Again, everything's kind of a remote firm. So some people out a little bit, and like I said, we're kind of everywhere.
Okay, so a few things, and I asked Vincenzo prior if he listened to the podcast. We don't hold too many punches here, so I do have some questions out of curiosity. Okay, so Vincenzo Philomena, I'm assuming you're of Italian descent, correct?
You got it.
Okay, parents, grandparents, great-grandparents?
Parents and grandparents.
Where are they from?
Lucca, it's in Tuscany, and then Potenza down in Basilicata, kind of in the south by Naples, kind of like the Arkansas of Italy. Kind of
Because I figured you were a first generation because although Vincenzo is a decent name, you hear it a lot in Italian. Generally, you're not gonna name your
You
second,
don't hear
third.
it. Yeah, you don't see it in the States.
Yeah, you're not gonna hear a second, third generation with that. All right. So, what's a nice Italian boy who grew up in Manhattan doing in Colombia? That's my first question.
I mean, you know what? It was one of those things where I was, I want to create my own path,
Yeah.
right? And, you grow up in the States, and especially being a son of immigrants, it's kind of like, they immigrated, but now I wanted to immigrate somewhere. And so it was just a matter of this sort of wanderlust of wanting to move abroad and really kind of like in South America, the vibe, etc. And then, seeing the opportunities within this whole international tax market, and specifically in South America too, right? Just with the relationship, a lot of people from South America wanted to invest in the U.S. and buy houses and condos in Miami and everything. So honestly, a lot of what happened with online taxman was almost just the notion of like when opportunity meets preparedness, right? And I saw the opportunity, I was prepared to take it, and at the same time, I just kind of always wanted to live outside the United States.
Now, did you visit Colombia first and fall in love, or you just like fuck it, I'm just going to Colombia?
No, it was one of those things. First, I moved to Buenos Aires. I had some friends there, I had some connections there, and then then I just came to Colombia once and just kind of fell in love with the people, the culture, and everything.
Now, is there an ex? Now, how many languages do you speak?
Four:
What are they?
English, Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese.
Okay. So in Colombia with your name, are you like the Italian guy or the American guy? What do they identify you as, people that are kind of local?
You know what? I mean, everyone kind of looks at me and knows that I'm a gringo, right?
Yeah.
And then, but I'll tell you, the hardest part is that people can't get my name right here.
Really?
You know what? This is the difference between Argentina and Colombia. Argentina, right? I'm sure as you know, has a lot of Italian roots, right? A lot of
Yes.
the immigrants, before and after the war, right? A lot of them went to New York and the U.S., and a lot of them went down to Argentina. So
Correct.
they have no problem saying Vincenzo, right?
Correct.
They have family members, they have, you know, ancestors and roots with that. So Vincenzo for them is just, they get it, they respect it, they think it's cool. Colombia is a little more, well, they're different, right? I mean, they're Spanish, and they have a lot of more U.S. influence actually. And
Interesting.
so Vincenzo is just kind of weird. Like some people get it. Vincenzo from like sports heroes. Like there's a famous the guy that won Tour de France. He's Vincenzo Nobili. So like I've actually probably gotten a lot more respect after that guy won because now they know the name. But you'd be surprised. Like Vincenzo.
Wow.
It's it's bad. I
Yeah.
mean, I just basically introduced myself as Vicente.
Like it.
Just,
Now,
okay.
now, now, again, so you're multicultural. You grew up in the U.S., especially Manhattan, where you get access to a whole bunch of cultures. Italian descent, living in Argentina, speak a little Portuguese, right? So
Yeah.
with that being said, what kind of expat? I'm sorry, but like we also like our creature comforts, right? So what type of expat community is in there in Medellin? Is there a lot of Americans there? Is a little Italian neighborhood? Is outside of obviously Colombian? What type of expat community is there, or is there any?
No, I mean the thing about Medellin, right, and the thing about Colombia is that it's changed, right,
Yeah,
and obviously, people think about Colombia and Medellin in particular.
yeah,
They think about the series Narcos.
yeah,
They think about Escobar and everything that happened in the '90s, and it's really kind of made a huge 180 from that.
yeah,
And right now, it's kind of a blossoming city, not only with the expat community, right, but just in general with the bars and restaurants and everything that's going on. So there actually is a really large expat community in Medellin. Most of the people that are retirees, right, that kind of can't afford or don't want to lower their standard of living, by moving to Florida, and they'd rather just live better in a foreign country. And then there's a lot of just digital nomads, right? People that are, working online that can live outside the United States. Like I said, there's tax advantages to it too. But people just enjoy a good quality of life for a good price. The value is unbelievable.
Nice. Now, we have a lot of colorful people on our show. We've had mobsters, we've had CEOs, we had the 51st guest ran the gamut. So I'm just going to be totally blunt here. You're an Italian guy, kind of hanging out in Colombia. I'm just going by the name, right? And Medellin, unfortunately, has a lot of negative connotation with it. Do people have like when they first meet you, or maybe from the U.S. or from Italy or from wherever, think you're in Colombia and dealing with taxes? Are they looking at you like, "Come on, Vincenzo, you washing money here?" Yeah, like do you get
Yeah.
that a little bit, or is
No,
that really subsided?
no, I mean, listen, everyone has a question about the accountant that, yeah, the Italian background that lives in Medellin, right? It's like one of those things. So you got to kind of surpass. Listen, it's not like I haven't been approached on certain like levels about that sort of stuff,
Yeah,
but candidly, around these parts, I mean,
yeah,
I'm not touching anything dirty because
yeah.
it's still one of those places where if you're with the wrong person at the wrong time, like something can happen. You know what I mean? But
Exactly.
so that's all fun and games.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm watching my back when it comes to that sort of stuff.
I appreciate the candor. All right, so let's
Yeah,
talk about the business end. Okay, so you start up your business, Online Taxman. It makes sense. What I like is you're also living it too. Like for example, like you're not like in Englewood, New Jersey, saying, "Yeah, I'm the Online Taxman and I'll do your taxes all over the world." No, you're actually probably filing your taxes from Colombia and you're living it yourself. So I appreciate that. So is there, so you have clients. So are you strong in a certain country because maybe you come up higher for Google? Are you stronger in a country because relationships? Like, give us kind of the mix of your business from a geo perspective, and then secondary question is how do you get that said business?
yeah. I mean, listen, we're definitely strong in the places where I've spent a lot of time, right? Which is basically Argentina,
Okay.
Brazil, and Colombia, right?
Okay.
And in those places in particular, we have a lot of experience dealing on the local tax side. Not that we would do the tax return, but we know enough to be dangerous to know how to talk to things
Correct.
and figure stuff out, right? So you have kind of that area, basically South America, and then of course just the main expat hub, right? London, Dubai, Hong Kong, Singapore, just kind of the major hubs of the world. We have a lot of clients, but we get people from all walks of life and all countries, right? People, doing volunteer work in Africa. We got the contractors, the military contractors out in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Nice.
People out in Asia, doing stuff, mining in Mongolia. I mean, you name it, like the country, we basically have somebody there or a client there, right? And so, and we've got sort of leads from everywhere, right? I mean, a lot of word of mouth, but we do advertising online, Google AdWords, all that sort of stuff, and partner with law firms and everything. So it's a real run of the mill as far as like kind of where we get people from, and obviously I'm going to fit good, so people refer us and people kind of help us grow our business.
Got it. Now, one thing I like about this story is, so we started newtheory.com August 1st, 2015, and the whole
Uh,
purpose of it was to build a community to really develop a new theory. And you're doing that. Like again, like you didn't pigeonhole yourself. I know some of my questions may have measured you versus that pigeonhole, but it's also a sign of progress. Meaning you didn't just sit there and say, "Hey, here's what I'm going to do. Here's where I'm going to live. Here's where I'm going to die." But you lived in a few countries. You are exploring, and you're developing a new theory. You're making maybe hopefully somebody listens to this says, "Holy shit! You know what? I don't need to live in Brooklyn. I can actually be in another country and still do what I have to do." Um, but culturally, it does, at least your formative years has an influence. Are your parents and your family very supportive of you, or they're kind of looking at you like you have 10 heads?
you know what? I mean, I think first it was kind of like, what the hell are you doing,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's just sort of like, notion of, and you know how it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my generation, right, which I'm kind of like on the end of the millennials, I'm
Yeah.
born in 82, I'm 35, right? So,
Yeah.
and even the younger generation, it's all about kind of like being different, exploring, all that sort of stuff, which is totally different than my parents' generation, which
Correct.
is, the whole 9 to 5 and all that sort of thing. So I think, at first I know that there was a lot of people questioning me, but at the same time, at least from people my generation, my friends, I got a lot of respect, right? Because everyone talks about doing something, but no one does it,
That's
right? And I
correct.
think that's different. And that's the only thing I would tell anyone is, what, like, don't talk about it, just do it, right? And the follow up is, what, if you don't like what you're doing, then just change it up. And if for whatever reason it works, or for whatever reason it doesn't work, you could always go back to what you were doing before, right? I could have always gone back to New York and got another job in accounting, and you know what, maybe there would have been some sort of struggle. I could have maybe had an issue getting a job, but I would have gotten one, and that sort of life experience of living abroad and traveling around, you can't compare it to anything else, right? I mean, it's the things I've learned and the people I've met and the experience have just been unbelievable. So that would be my sort of 2 cents. And like I said, now my parents, like everyone in my family and friends, like they see what I'm doing, they see kind of where it's taken me and how the business has grown. And so obviously now, everyone's happy. And I've made it very clear. I'll probably not go back to the United States. Never say never, but I'm kind of enjoying myself living outside and doing what I do.
Nice. And with technology, it probably makes it even easier. So, all right. So we're wrapping up soon, but I have a few more questions. So obviously, I'm intrigued by what you do. I like your angle. I like what you're doing. What is an advantage of using your service over using just a straight, calling my local account back in East Brunswick, New Jersey, and saying, "Hey, Dominic, I'm living in Italy 6 months this year. Hey, can you do my taxes?" So, what would be an advantage of using you over using my local guy, let's say in the U.S.?
Right. I mean, I think the biggest thing is, again, I mean, we bring an expertise that not a lot of local people have, right? And it's the knowledge of if you have foreign assets and foreign investments, you have to report that. And the fact that if you decide to live out of the United States for most of the year, right? And what I mean most of the year, I mean, 8, 9 months at the minimum, then you can qualify for the foreign earned income exclusion. And what that is that means that you do not have to pay income tax on your first $100,000 income of earned income.
Oh, wow.
So that's a major tax saving. And there's not a lot of people, at least local accounts, that know about that. So I've seen time and time again, people have just screwed up all the terms. They might be perfectly good accountants in the U.S., but they just totally botch these returns. And, it costs their clients money. It costs, it could subject to fees if they didn't do the, disclosures right. So I think the biggest thing is the knowledge, right? Obviously, secretaries think we're, pricing competitive, and I think we're pretty cool accountant. But, at the very least, like, we have the knowledge to help people, especially those that have like a little bit of international flavor in their tax situation.
Okay, so basically it's expertise. And without giving away too much free advice, what's the biggest mistake that expats make that are U.S. citizens that work abroad? What's the singular most biggest mistake you see often done by expats?
I mean, the biggest mistake is people think they don't have to file, right? Which is wrong. I mean, you have to file your taxes as an American citizen or green card holder, no matter where you live in the U.S. Right, and that's a very unique thing about the U.S. Actually, it's only the U.S. and like Eritrea, like a little piddly African country that requires that. But it is what it is, and so a lot of people don't realize that. So you just see that sort of assumption compounded with, again, not knowing how to file U.S. bank or foreign bank accounts and everything else. And then the other side is people don't know that the advantages, like the foreign income exclusion or having to set up an offshore structure that could really save them a lot of money by living outside the United States. So, people just miss it. canvass it, and then again, we're kind of the ones that come in, clean up the mess.
Nice. I love it. Vincenzo, I'm very happy to have you on. Like I said, you encompass what New Theory is about, and we're all working together to develop that new theory. Although we have respect for the past, we are building a future based off this new theory. So with that being said, Vincenzo Philomena with Online Taxman, any parting words you want to give to our listeners today?
All I gotta say is, travel more, work less, and just be explored. You know what I mean? And like I said, don't look back. If you have the opportunity to travel or to move abroad, or even thinking about it, just take it.
Absolutely,
Call me for your tax advice, of course.
Actually, I made your taxes. Absolutely, I love it, Vincenzo. Hold on a second, and New Theory podcast signing off. All right, that was great. That was actually better than I expected because I like the angle of living abroad. So you work through